Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So let me start today's video by discussing a very sad reality with all of you. So let's imagine that you are a family of 4 living in Delhi and you make 1 lakh rupee. Now 1 lakh rupee is great amount of money that you could be making in a country like India, no doubt about that, because only top 10% in India are able to make that level of money. But the sad story is this, and it can be understood from facts and figures. So if you're making a salary of 1 lakh rupee in a city like Delhi, and if you want to live a decent or okay life, I'm not speaking lavish life, I'm just speaking okay life, then you would have to easily spend between 25 to 35,000 rupee in terms of your house rent. Then similarly, आपका utility का bill आएगा, electricity, water. Then school की fee for 2 kids would be 10-15,000. Similarly, you will have to pay tax, direct tax, indirect tax. So that can come out to be between 10 to 20,000 rupees. And if you aggregate all these figures, miscellaneous expenses, utilities, rent, वगैरह वगैरह, then you will quickly realize that despite making 1 lakh rupee, you are left with nothing. Now, when I post these type of facts, I get crazy amount of heat that you have become a political person, this, that. For example, here is a person with 1.5 million Twitter following, posting like ludicrous facts that people know how to manage their budget. कि अच्छा महंगाई जब बढ़ जाती है, तो people automatically decrease their expenses. And when I am speaking about these type of facts, I'm just trying to paint our nation in a negative light. That is not the objective at all. So let me present even more facts and figures with all of you, and please go and Google it. For example, this year, the electricity prices have gone up by 14%, 14%, and some states have proposed a price in electricity by 40%, 40%. On top of that, medical inflation in India this year has been 14%. Critical medicines in India are going to cost you 12 to 14% more. The easiest and the most visual example to understand is that of a gas cylinder. That a gas cylinder back in 2019 used to cost 700 rupees. Right now, it is costing somewhere between 11 to 1200 rupees. अब आप लोग मुझे बता दो that what luxury items have I spoken about? I'm speaking about school fees, I'm speaking about gas cylinder, I'm speaking about critical medicines. All these are basic things that have been increased by such a large amount that you're losing and wiping out all your savings. Now, when I highlight these type of points, people make all these issues political. But there is a larger picture that I'm trying to present here, and I will try to help you systematically understand why this is happening. This is not a party specific issue. This is not a nation specific issue. This works at a global economy level. So please understand the economic reality of this fact. As a teacher, this is one of the primary things that I want to drive home and make normal people understand that why are you getting bankrupt each day, and is there something that you can do in order to avoid. This video is not sponsored by anyone. No one would sponsor such a video, and I'm not going to even talk about any product, service, this, that, nothing. I'm just going to give you hardcore economic facts. Please absorb it in a rational manner. And just a humble request that if you like these type of videos and if you want more Indians to be aware of these economic realities, please consider sharing these videos. Please share it on your LinkedIn. Please share it on Twitter. Please share it on your WhatsApp. Wherever you can share, please share, and please press the like button. So let me kickstart and let me very logically explain कि भाई महंगाई or why is inflation going very high, but your salary increases are not going very high. And let me first and foremost visually depict it, and then I will give you some quick commentary. See, if the prices of things are going like this, and your salary level or salary increase is growing like this. So basically what is going to happen? What this gap simply indicates is then in real terms, you're losing your wealth and it will become harder and harder for you to survive the lifestyle that you currently have. Of course, you can always manage your budget कि आप 25-30 हजार के घर में रह रहे थे and then you shifted to some bad locality. There you are paying 10,000 rupees. I completely agree. But is that a type of a lifestyle choice you can make? And if you're not making such a choice, then does that make you greedy? The answer is no. It does not make you greedy. You're going after something very basic that you have worked really hard to have a basic lifestyle that you can afford to live. And if you're not even able to maintain that lifestyle, it is not a budgeting issue at your end. So let me systematically explain as to why that is happening. So the first key reason is that there is a delta. Delta means the difference between point A dash, point B dash. So what is point A dash, B dash? It simply means ki at what rate the price rise is happening. So it is happening at a much faster rate compared to the rise in your salaries. Now you'll say that, you know what, you're just trying to criticize the government, this, that, you don't know any data. Can you show us some data? Okay. See, here is where the murky situation comes into the picture, because in India, majority of the jobs are in unorganized sector. Unorganized sector means that छोटे-छोटे से job होते हैं, mostly cash economy oriented job, labor की job होती है, वगैरह वगैरह. So it's very difficult for me to present any data on at what rate salaries have risen. For this, you yourself can run a small experiment. You yourself check your your monthly expenses, let's say 2-3 years ago, and check those same monthly expenses now. So you will get an increase in price rise on real terms as per your lifestyle. On the flip side, take a look at the salary rise, not your salary rise, but the salary rise at your own position. So let's say it was 5 lakh package. Now after 3 years, just check the package of that same job at TCS. What is that package been? So that will give you a very correct idea as to what rate the price rise is happening in the economy and at what rate the salary increase is happening. And I'm willing to bet that the rate at which salary is going up, that is far more dismal and scary compared to the price rise in the economy. So then comes the natural question that okay, ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है कि you know what, my salary is not growing at a very fast rate, but महंगाई or inflation is going up in the economy very, very fast. So what is the reason for that? Is there an economic explanation? So 100% yes. And that phrase can be boiled down into 2 simple sentences, which go something like this. So this is called as capitalizing the gains, but socializing the losses. Now, what is the meaning of this? So for this, let me present a very quick backstory about Vladimir Putin, USSR and the modern day Russia. So basically, if I ask you that who is the richest person on earth, you will say Elon Musk hoga, Jeff Bezos honge, vagera vagera. No, the answer is Vladimir Putin is the richest person de facto in the world. His net worth is estimated to be somewhere around $200 billion. No one even comes close to him. But you will scratch your head, yaar, uski salary itni nahi hai. How is he the richest person on earth? He's not running any company, this, that. Okay. So let me show you fact number 2. That out of 10 richest Russians, 8 work in infrastructure oriented things. Jaise coal ho gaya, power plant ho gaya, transport, this, that, road development, vagera, vagera. So what happens, and there is a reason why, that these type of entrepreneurs become extremely wealthy. So let me very quickly break it down for you. So here is how the entire mechanism works. For example, if infrastructure project is being created, huge infrastructure, and one company is getting contract after contract. See, if the company is able to do everything well, and if they are able to execute that project and start making money, who do you think will benefit from that? You will say, yaar, hamara fayda hoga because, you know, road ban jayengi, we will be able to take our vehicle, this, that, and we will see good things happening. Yes, you will win, but what percentage of win are you getting? Then let's say 100 units of positive things are created. You will, for example, get like 0.1 unit, and 99.9 unit will go to the rich few who are actually owning the company. But on the flip side, if a major infrastructure project, banking project fails, then who pays the cost? A classic case in point is the Yes Bank example. I had created an entire case study. Please go and watch it. Who do you think eventually bailed out the Yes Bank? The answer comes that the government bailed out. They made a consortium of SBI and bunch of other high-powered institutions. So have the rational brain that please ask that who financed SBI? Basically, it was the public money. So to cut the long story short, the viewpoint that gains belong to a few and losses belong to many, that is playing out at a world level, including in India. I am not trying to put fingers on any one particular political party because that literally kills the debate. That I will say that party A did something, then you will say, okay, no, party B also did it. So I am not supporting any political party. I am a supporter of economics and I am giving you hardcore economic facts. So anyways, now you might have a natural question that, okay, how are losses socialized to many? So that happens in 2 scenarios. One is that you definitely see your taxes going up. So the real money that you're getting in hand, that goes out of the window. For example, recently, आप debt mutual fund देख लो, indexation benefits taken away, short-term capital gains tax देख लो, securities transaction tax देख लो, and दुनिया भर के taxes आप देख लो, you will categorically see that the individual or personal taxes are clearly rising in India, but corporate taxes are not rising. Corporate taxes are in fact coming down. So this tax incidence falls on a lot of people. Now the second part of the problem is that this increased inflation. So I started the story by painting some numbers on what your life will look like with 1 lakh rupee in Delhi. And even with 1 lakh rupee, it's not as if that you can live a fairly comfortable life. Why does that happen? Because even inflation, which acts as an indirect tax, that is levied on all. Why does that happen? Because losses, whenever companies like Yes Bank, they fall under, the entire society pays the price in these 2 formats. And किसका गला पकड़ते हैं सबसे पहले? Whenever taxation has to be increased, for people who can actually pay taxes, which is the middle class, and people who are actually making 1 lakh rupee, जो mid segment में आते हैं, they are the ones effectively who end up paying the highest taxes. So now comes the very natural question that, you know what, ऐसा तो है नहीं, you know what, सरकार will not work in our favor, you are probably giving some wrong data. So can you systematically, economically explain this point as to what has led to this entire situation where losses can be spread over in the form of higher taxation and higher inflation across people? How is this possible? So the explanation actually comes from understanding the basics of Keynesian economics and Austrian economics. So let me take like 2-3 minutes to walk you through this highly complicated topic, and you will be fascinated with it hopefully. And if you do like it, do press the like button. But you will understand this entire point very fundamentally if you pick this difference. So basically in economics, there are many school of thoughts. Say in political ideology, there is like leftist, rightist. Similarly, in economics, you have something called as Keynesian economics and you have something called as Austrian economics. So the founder of Keynesian economics is a person called Keynes, and the founder of Austrian economics is a person called Hayek. So these are their photos, and they are the inventors of these two schools. Now, ever since, right, I mean, since the time these school of thoughts have came into existence, there is a lot of debate, and it will probably take me 3 hours to explain you the difference between the school of thoughts here. So I will simplify one of the most crucial elements of these schools that is actually impacting you now. So basically what happens is that in the economy, there is like an up cycle or a growth cycle, and there is a down cycle. For example, you could argue that between the year 2016-17 all the way till the COVID hit, the world was growing. Everything was good. There were hardly any massive macro problem per se, but after 2020, there was a down phase. So these are called as boom cycle and burst cycle in the economy, that there are periods of growth and there is a period of shrinkage that happens in the economy. Now see, you have to fundamentally understand that during the growth cycle, people are very happy that stocks se return ban raha hai, real estate se return ban raha hai, वगैरह वगैरह. Everyone is like happy, everyone is singing songs and watching birds and whatnot. So during this phase, no one really bothers. But during the down phase, this is where people start pointing fingers at each other, right? And Keynesian, what he said was that he picked the example of the Great Depressions which existed in the 1920s, and he said that देखो, जब economy की हालत खराब हो जाती है, when economy is in really bad shape, what is it that we should do? Basically, we should give a lot of power or interventionist power to the government. Why? Because they have to move the economic engine. Because here, the economy has completely stopped. So imagine a car that if it is completely stopped, then someone needs to push it. So you give a lot of power to the government. वो quantitative easing करेंगे, ज़्यादा debt लेंगे, वगैरह वगैरह. So they will intervene in the economy to kickstart or jumpstart the economy. Now Hayek says that, you know what, this is a very bad idea. Now the reason why this is a bad idea is that if you give government the power to intervene during all the down phases, तब तो वो कभी अच्छे टाइम पे प्रिपेयर करेंगे ही नहीं, right? And whatever pain, for example, let's imagine that there was 100 units of pain that had to go through the economy because there is something bad in the economy that has happened. There is a cycle that is happening. So pain will be there. But Keynesian said that, you know what, this pain of 100 units, it can quickly go away if you just simply print money or take more debt and pump it down in the economy. And this is what the government realized. And by 1930s, this Keynesian economics came to the forefront. So the government started printing more money whenever they saw a problem. 2000.com bubble crisis आया, थोड़ा पैसा print कर दिया. 2008, it became like mainstream. 2020, print like crazy. 2021, print even more, वगैरह वगैरह. So now the situation is that any pain that comes in the economy, the government clearly decides that हमें नहीं झेलना, हम तो we are just going to print the money and be done with it, and that's it. But what happens is that this pain will transpire in the economy at some stage. This is what Hayek also said. And guess what? The chickens have come home to roost. And how are you seeing this? Again, let me take back to that chart that I was explaining, that if the inflation and taxation is growing like this, your salary as a middle class person is growing like this. So going forward, do you think that this pain will go away? The answer is absolutely not. This pain will remain till the time Keynesian economics remains at the forefront. So then comes the next natural question, that if this situation continues, that every time there is pain in the economy, government will print money, use Keynesian principles and somehow avert the situation and put more taxation, put more inflation on our head. So whom does it impact the most, or how are different layers of people get impacted? So for this, you need to divide the society into 4 specific segments, at least from an Indian context. See, when it comes to ultra elite, what happens that these people might have like net worth of, let's say, 20 crore plus, all that stuff. Maybe some wealth transfer or inheritance tax might be levied on them. And this is the taxation that they will have to bear, right? So this is the first key thing. But what kind of offsets them is that they own the means of production. So in economics, we have the concept of means of production, which means land, labor, and capital. If you own these 3 things, then you technically own means of production. For example, if some ultra elite or ultra wealthy person has 100-200 acre of land, this, that, they are owning land. Now, if the inflation in the economy goes up and other things also go up, then what will also happen? That his land price will also proportionally go up. If you don't believe me, take a look at the situation that is happening in Bangalore. That in Bangalore, the rent has been suddenly increased for a lot of people by 45% this year itself. So what is happening? That people or ultra elite people who might be owning houses or whose property has appreciated and because of which they have become ultra elite, they are somewhat safe. And this can also be checked from this particular graphic. And you can take a look at the wealth share of the top 10% that it has been rising decade after decade in India. But the wealth of bottom 50% has been going down like crazy. So why does this happen? It happens because who owns the means of production? That is the reason why. So anyways, quickly completing this framework, let's see if you are in that wealthy category right now in 2023, and I would personally define wealthy category as someone who has 1 to 5 CR. So you would be considered as wealthy. And if you just simply say, yaar, main to 5 crore mere paas pade hain, I will just do an FD and I will just enjoy and chill in my life, you will get wiped out. Why? Because the inflation is growing at a very fast rate. Now comes the middle class. Now these poor people pay the most taxes. आप मुझे बता दो जो debt mutual fund indexation benefits have been withdrawn, who invest in debt mutual funds the most? Mutual fund is an instrument for normal retail investors. They go via that route. And by withdrawing the indexation benefits, now you will start paying more and more taxes. Now this is something that is there. Similar things happen with GST also, that किसी product के दाम एकदम से बढ़ जाते हैं. From 18% slab, it goes to 28% slab वगैरह वगैरह. Now comes the final layer of this entire bucket, that when it comes to lower people, now see here what happens is that these people work for survival. It saddens me to say this, but these people are living hand to mouth, that they will go and do dihadi, and whatever money they are making at the end of that day's labor, they are going to go home and eat whatever food they can get. So this is the reality of most people in India. They work on government benefits mostly. They depend on it. जैसे अंत्योदय योजना होती है. So उसमें people get pulses, rise, all that stuff. And even for healthcare or any type of medical emergency, do you think that these people can get treated in private hospitals? The answer is no. So these people are completely dependent on the government. So they absolutely need subsidies in order to survive. And this trend is going to continue. So with that said, let me start summarizing 4 critical points or 4 critical things that is 100% going to happen according to me. The first key thing that is going to happen in our economy is that people are going to save less and less. In fact, saving money is going to become more and more difficult with time. In fact, you can check this, and here's the data, and this shows the savings rate of the household in India, and it has been considerably coming down. The second key point that is definitely going to happen is that the middle class is going to get brutally wiped out. The middle 40% that you see, that according to me is the real middle class of India. So this middle class in numbers terms is going to grow smaller and smaller with time. So here you can see in 1961, the middle class or middle 40% used to own India's 45% of wealth. Now they are at 22.9. Give another 10 years, this will fall below 10-15%. The third key thing that is going to happen is that people are going to find it harder and harder to beat inflation. Now see, the government gives us numbers कि यार inflation 7% है, 8% है वगैरह वगैरह. The real inflation is very very different from reality. Again, please go and check. आपको अरहर की दाल कितने में मिलती थी आज से 2 साल पहले? How much is it? मखाने के रेट कितने हैं? You will be surprised that मखाना that no one used to buy, that people are buying crazy money to buy मखाना these days. So to cut the long story short, the real inflation in the economy is very hard to beat. And unfortunately, in order to beat inflation, for example, if the real inflation is 12-13%, then how will you actually in real terms beat it? आप FD करा के beat कर लोगे? The answer is no, you will not be able to do it. So you will have to go and risk your money. Do I enjoy risking my money? The answer is no. If I were getting decent return on my FD rate, which is above inflation, then why would I risk my money? But the problem now is that as the inflation in the world will increase, why will the inflation increase? Because again, going back to the basic point that Hayek explained, that you know what, during good times, the government will not take any actions. They will not become frugal. They will not maintain transparency. They will give all the money to top 1%, 5% rich people. And during the time of loss, they will socialize taxation and inflation problem to the entire audience. So this is unfortunately what is happening, and therefore inflation will be high. And therefore, in order to make real returns on your money, you unfortunately will have to take risk with it. How do you take risk with it? That's a separate conversation. I will probably make part 2 of this video if there is good response from all of you, where I will talk about specific measures. But very quickly, let me wrap up this section by explaining the fourth and final trend, that like in the US, people live mostly on debt. Same thing is going to happen with the Indian middle class, that more and more middle class white collar job people, they are going to take more and more debt with time. ये आप देख रहे होगे, I don't have to present any study for this, that go and take a look the rate at which Bajaj Finance has grown. Why? Because it gives consumer loans. So this becomes a mainstream habit that the middle class people are going to take more and more and more debt. Very similar to how the US government wants their people to take more debt. Something very similar is happening all across the globe. So these are 4 specific changes. Now comes the natural question कि यार आपने सारी परेशानियां गिना दी. Now what is the solution around it? Is there any solution that you can tell us? So I will tell you 3. So the 3 things that I will tell you is that number 1, please build multiple income streams. Now, multiple income stream means that if you are the husband and your wife is not working, for example, and if she has an opportunity to work, please encourage, support her. In India, the women workforce participation is one of the lowest in the world. So from that perspective, if our women workforce starts participating in our labor force market, it will improve the number of income streams in a particular household. That's A. Part B to this is that over the weekends, please try to figure out another way of making some parallel income. Gone are the days when we will be able to manage with just 2 income streams. You need to have more. I'm not saying this to create FOMO and create fear, but it's important to actually be educated as to whatever is happening in the world. Do some prognosis and accordingly prepare yourself. So this is tip number 1. Tip number 2. Like it or not, you have to risk your money and try to beat inflation, because if you have 100 rupees kept in your bank account and unfortunately inflation is very high, then that money will get wiped out very, very quickly. At what rate? That depends on the real rate of inflation. But you are smart enough to understand now that inflation will eat your money, and unfortunately you have to take risk with it. Where to invest, this, that, I anyways keep on making videos. So please understand all the analysis. Please learn from others also and use your own brain. Be responsible for your own money. In this entire journey, whenever you are taking advice from me, advice from anyone else, you are risking your money. Do we like risking our money? The answer is no. I do not like risking my money, and neither would you. But there is no other option, and there will be times when you will have to bear a loss because you are risking your money. Third and finally, as soon as possible, please try to own some inflation-proof assets. Now, again, whenever I say the word Bitcoin, or whenever I say the word real estate, or whenever I say fixed supply assets, I get a lot of hate कि अक्षत आप तो real estate नहीं खरीदते थे, this that. भाई, I'll link down a video where I had shot in November of 2021. So उससे पहले I would have definitely purchased. Therefore, I am making the video in November of 2021. So that is there on my YouTube video. I had categorically said that I purchase commercial real estates only. Even now, whatever villa I have purchased in Goa, that is a commercial property because I have a license, a hotel license on it. I still don't own a house. Now that is my perspective. You don't necessarily need to follow my perspective, but have some theory. You have to go one way or the other and own some inflation proof asset. So I will leave the conversation there. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do consider pressing the like button. Do share it with your friends. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon.